Hello, this is Rounisto, and you're watching an episode of Zero to Hero where I go ahead and talk about the various things that I'm going to have to try to do to get my business going from the ground up. Kind of. Not exactly. More recently, we've been talking about things that are more health related and so forth. Yesterday, I touched up a little bit on like EMF frequencies and so forth, and about this notion that I heard a car alarm. That's what it was. I thought somebody was like about to crash into me or something. So the biggest adversary we have when it comes to our health is really the unasked question. Because out of all the things that could happen to us, like, all these various diseases and stuff that people have before they pass on, a lot of these diseases could never take place without several conditions have been met first, because they need a certain environment to be able to live. Just like, you have some extremophiles, which would be like bacterias that are living in conditions that are absolutely out of this world, like just really intense, like inside of a volcano, right? So you've got like bacteria that live inside of there. Those are extremophiles, and they cannot live outside of that environment. I do believe you have some kind of organisms that live inside of the Dead Sea, so it's just like these things live in just ridiculous conditions. Well, the body doesn't normally have the ability to harbor diseases in it. Like, normally. Like, a healthy working body doesn't produce an environment that allows a lot of the things that kill people to grow. So it's highly irregular and unusual that some of these things are capable of intruding our system, or infiltrating our system, right? Well, what ends up happening is over the years, it could be 30, it could be 40, it could be 50 years, If you're not really aware of the damage being done over the years, you're not going to be aware. But slowly but surely, we're inadvertently cultivating this environment where... Sorry, I keep getting little messages on my screen. We keep inadvertently cultivating an environment for non-conducive states of our health, which obviously is bad because we end up dying from it, right? So, what are the things that we can do to prevent these things? Well, number one problem is that, you can see articles and a bunch of videos talking about all sorts of different things. This is good for your health, that's good for your health. But ultimately, the part where it all breaks down is the point where somebody asks the question, why do I give a shit? Why do I care if I'm healthy? YOLO, fuck it, right? It's some weird ass bullshit that, people like to say when they're about to do some dumb ass shit. And the idea, I completely understand this because, there was a point where information wasn't really prevalent, right? So before we had the age of the internet and stuff like that, people were kept in power almost exclusively because, their associations, of course, but because they had possession of a knowledge pool that a lot of people did not. Now, that's why they behaved in a certain way. Once you're privy to certain information, that can give you leverage over situations. However, we don't necessarily have a problem with there being knowledge out there. There's plenty of knowledge out there. Matter of fact, there's so much knowledge out there that we need to now develop skills to be able to sort through it all to determine whether or not there's any validity to any of it. So, since we're constantly bombarded with information nonstop, boom, 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 here comes some information, right? Here's an ad. Here's 25,000 ways that you can change your life to make you a better you. Well, it just becomes a bunch of eye rolling because you see these things and you see the promises and you see them again and again and again and again and again, and we're almost given this impression that it's just like, shit, I don't even need to do all that much. I can just do whatever, because there's all these different things that are claiming to be, you know, the roads to, the one road to Rome, or, that's a bad way of saying it, but like, you know, there's many ways to Rome, like there's just so many fucking paths to health, and I'm not saying there's not, but there's a lot of things that you can't do on the way, you know. Having, like, for an example, like, if we didn't have any kind of vehicle and we were going, well, I'm not even gonna go down on that. That's a silly path. I was gonna say you need fucking legs to walk down the road, but that doesn't even make sense, because, well, fuck. Well, that blew up I kind of blew up my thought process, huh? But the bottom line is that the things that stop us is our unwillingness to commit. And we don't want to commit because we don't understand. And we don't understand because we don't want to learn. And we don't want to learn because we are bombarded with so much bullshit every single day. Trying to discern between what to listen to and what not to requires a lot of dedication and the ability and want to ask a lot of questions. So, well, there's the first stop, right? The psychological barrier. Now, after thinking yesterday, I started writing out my thoughts or whatever, because I want to start making my book, Cancer Doesn't Just Fall Out of the Sky, and I'm going to be doing a lot of research for this. And by all means, if anyone has any suggestions of something they want to see in there, you know, I am doing a lot of research. I don't just know this all at the top of my head. I mean, I know a lot of stuff, I guess, relatively speaking. But, you know, you need to do more research so you know that you can keep your positions in check. I don't want to just say a bunch of stuff because I once heard this or once heard that, but because I genuinely have a reasonable amount of data to support my position. Matter of fact, I even approached somebody the other day on that. You know, they would poke holes in some of my, I wouldn't call them theories, but, you know, they poke holes in some of the things I was talking about, and they wanted me to, well, they were just saying, I don't think that's how that is. And I was like, oh, well. And I started going off the top of my head of what I remembered, but then I remembered that I didn't remember everything. And then, well, it's pretty hard to have a reasonable conversation if you aren't able to bring your full position to the table, you know? That's not really a good discussion. So, well, I reached out to this person and I said that, you know what, I think that's a great position, and I'd like if maybe you can even check out some of my stuff, because, you know, they might be able to readily poke holes in those theories, and that's kind of what you want, because you don't want to just cling to anything. You want to cling to truth, not past beliefs, not whatever. You got to constantly be testing yourself on whether or not the things you know are the things that really are the way they are. I've gone back and forth on a couple different things. You know, I've seen a lot of supporting data that suggests that red meat is bad, and a lot of data that supports that red meat is essential for your health. Now, I'm not going to get into that data right now, but the fact is, even if you're dedicated as hell, you got to sort through a lot of shit. And that could be very debilitating, because you're not going to want to do it. That's the bottom line, you know? Why bother? Fuck it. I'll just do whatever I do. People live long enough, right? Ah, jeez. But the question is, how much of your health is within your control? And it's kind of like, well, all of it. I mean, yeah, you've got certain things that you cannot control under any circumstances, but beyond that, you know, they only have so much of a grasp on you. You have the ability to make choices, and those choices can damn well positively or negatively affect your health beyond that point. Because even if you're born straight from the gate, terrible disease, I don't know enough about diseases with the nuance of what they do to you negatively that I can really go into an extreme rant on this, but let's just call it any old illness. insert X right here. You can have it from the gate, and let's just say it fucks up your respiratory system or something like that. Well, whatever be the matter, if you make the choices to not give a shit and just eat poorly and whatever, adding on a couple extra pounds, although you might not be able to have a shot in hell of fixing your respiratory system directly, you sure as hell can help it by the amount of load that you're putting on your body and how much extra weight that you're, forcing on yourself. So it's just like, yeah, there's a point where we have certain control over factors that could benefit or detriment, some of the things that are already happening to us. I'm going to leave it off on there right now. I'm going to have to go. It's about that time for work, so have a wonderful day.